Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Meaningful People podcast. We got a different type of guest this week. You know, you maybe have never heard of Yoshi Falber.
Yoshinoya,
which is his real
so
name.
Halig,
It's
by
his
the
real
way.
name is Yoshinoya. It's not. I don't know what is his real name. Yeshua?
Yoshio, I think.
We'll never know. But Yoshi Falber is the CEO of the Chesed Fund. You ever get one of those campaigns sent to you and you made a donation? It's very likely that you have made a donation through the platform, the Chesed Fund. They've raised, hundreds of millions of dollars for tzedakah since its inception. So this episode is sort of, taking a peek behind the curtain of what goes on in that type of organization, company. A company that is, founded, empowered to make tzedakah giving easy, and now they have this new sort of verifiable track because that's something that we wanted to speak about. Is there's a lot of campaigns and you never know, is this money going to the place where I think it's going to? So we discussed about the verification process in this episode.
They're at the forefront of unprecedented degrees of chesed that are going on,
And they have a fund that makes them the Chesed Fund, and you'll hear a lot about that in this episode. But first, we want to.
Also, Yoshi's a good guy.
Yoshi's
Good people.
Yoshi's a great guy.
How are you, dude?
Yoshi's awesome. Our friends at Bridge Credit Solutions. How are you? Those people last week that were ruining your credit, I got intel. Don't do that. It's not worth it. My friends at Bridge Credit told me don't tell people to ruin their credit just to use them. But if you want to do that and use them, they'll still accept you as a client. So go ahead and hit the link in the description in the show notes and get in touch with they are the gold standard for fixing credit, and you can't walk around with bad credit. So go ahead and reach out to Bridge Credit Solutions and enjoy this episode. You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people. Okay. Introduce yourself. What's your name, man?
right?
Okay, my name's Yoshi Falber.
Yoshi.
Yeah,
What's up,
Yoshi Moshi.
Yoshi is a name.
It's a unique name.
What's
Thank you.
Yeshua?
It's a strong name.
So it's like Yoshiyahu. I've been getting this my whole life. By the way.
Yoshiyahu.
Yeah, I've been told by people that's not a name. I'm sure you it's a name. It's in Tanakh. He's Yoshiyahu was a Melech Yehuda. He kept the base of Mikdash standing for an extra 26 years.
Before Yoshinoya.
Who's that?
I think that's a restaurant chain out west.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That went over my head. I never had it. But Yoshi is a lot easier than saying Yoshia Moshe Ben Esther Pesha Leah Yisrael. Right. So I let people call me Yoshi.
You and Momo have a lot in common because Yoshi's a type of name that Momo. It's like a.
It's like Momo.
I'm very impressed.
It's short.
I'm very impressed.
Is Mo Mordechai or Moshe?
It's Moshe.
You're pushing 30, right?
Almost. I'm
You're
almost 30.
30.
Yeah.
And you're still Momo. And you have
almost 40, dude,
and I'm
by the way.
pushing almost 40, and I'm still Yoshi.
That's my point. You guys have a lot in common. It's gonna be amazing when you're 90 and you're 90 and you're people are calling you Yoshi, people are calling you Momo at 90.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard
dancing outside the base?
You've been very helpful with that, by the way, Nachi. Because Momo was almost fading, and then with this, you really solidified the nickname.
Momo was fading. It was going to Moshe Aaron.
A lot of people know me as Moshe Aaron. That's
really
my name. Yeah. And now a lot of people know me as Momo.
See, I think that Nachi is also a pretty in terms of Klal Yisrael, it's a unique-ish name.
Nachi?
No?
Do you want it to be?
I don't how many Nachis are there?
You're unique.
Yoshi is for sure the most awesome name in the room.
Thank
without
you
question.
so
Is it?
much. That's
Yoshi's the green dude from
Easy.
Well,
America.
before I went to yeshiva, I had to make a living. You know what I mean? So I was in video games.
Yeah, that's how it was.
That was what it was.
But in terms of Klal Yisrael, Moshe is probably 500,000, Yisrael 300,000, people with the name. Nachi's probably less than 5,000 in the Jewish world, less than 5,000.
It's special, Nachi. We like it.
We don't have good data on this, but Nachi, if this is helpful for you, it really is unique.
So we have a very special bond here. Yoshi, okay, so safe to say that most people listening probably don't know who you are.
Yeah, that could be.
Which is unique.
Most people have interacted with your work,
right?
But they may not know you personally. I'm excited for people to learn about this.
Yeah, and you completely taken over WhatsApp statuses. The whole world now
is that so?
Momo doesn't have WhatsApp. He has no idea what I'm talking about.
It's good. It's better that way. It's better that way.
But anyways, for those who are listening, Yoshi is the CEO of the Chesed Fund.
Right.
And anytime someone goes on WhatsApp and they see a link on their status, it's for a Chesed Fund.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You had no idea where I was going with that.
Okay.
So what is the Chesed Fund?
The Chesed Fund is it's a crowdfunding platform. The basic definition of it is it's an online crowdfunding platform. So it's similar to something like you might have seen in GoFundMe, right? But we cater to the Jewish world. We innovated in terms of crowdfunding. We made it free for everybody. That was something that never happened before. So there were no fees associated with it. It had classically been, we knew it was a powerful tool, but it had classically been cost prohibitive. So we made it free. That was the first innovation of the Chesed Fund.
And like the GoFundMe, for example, they'll take a fee. So
yeah, GoFundMe was really expensive. Actually, in the end of the day, they copied our model. They
Really?
actually, they kind of modeled after us because we revolutionized the field. We really, really did. Like making it free, this was before my time,
Right.
but making crowdfunding free for everyone, which is why you see it dominating WhatsApp statuses and stuff like that, why you see it everywhere, because we really make it available to everyone. And it's a super powerful tool. There's no question about it.
Interesting. Why was the Chesed Fund started? I find that
Yeah.
there's GoFundMe and there's other ways for people to raise money, but what was
The origin story.
the origin story?
So the origin is Chaim Chernoff. I don't know if you know who he is.
Of course. Shout out to Chaim.
Shout out to Chaim.
How are you, dude?
He's a little bit of an innovator for people who don't know him, and he kind of innovated this thing called JCN, the Jewish Content Network, which does like tons of ad distribution in the Jewish world. It's a super cool idea. They streamlined everything. And people kept advertising GoFundMe after GoFundMe after GoFundMe, and he knew that it was cost prohibitive. And he met up with a programmer called Avi Kahat. Avi is one of the co-founders of the Chesed Fund. He's like a Zucking, lives in Eretz Yisrael. He's a tzaddik. He's a mamish tzaddik. And they got
For
together.
anyone that's listening and not seeing, Yoshi just made a fantastic beard motion.
He's got a huge beard.
And Yoshi's got a beard
He's got
himself.
fabulous
A
facial
little
hair.
one compared to Avi's. I'm a big admirer of beards.
Are you?
Avi's, yes. Avi's got quite the beard. He's got quite the beard. He really does. And he's a big tzaddik of a man. And both of them together kind of innovated this thing, this platform, which could really be free for everyone, which could totally revolutionize that field. And it did. So that's how it started. They recognized that there was a need. People kept advertising all these campaigns on GoFundMe. Well, why can't we provide them something that's more cost effective from the community that speaks their language, let's say, right? Something more community based.
Right.
Yeah.
You got me stuck on the beard thing for a sec.
Yeah, stay on the beard.
Yisrael Abasor. You know Yisrael Abasor?
I don't know, no.
He's a yid from Florida.
Okay.
He has like the top 5 beard
Really?
in the world.
There's a lot of great beards in Florida. That's where I live.
He has an incredible beard.
Yeah?
Should we like put a picture of him on here? I don't know. Might be like a breach of
I don't
I'll
know
ask
him, but
I'll ask
you might
him.
want to ask him first.
I might have to.
I was very close with Revulsion Shlita, and he's a Rosh Hashiva in Lakewood. And also, these are
Top 10 beard.
this is maybe the top one in the world,
Really?
for sure.
I hear you. So again, like a reason why I wanted you on this podcast,
Yeah.
in this podcast, Meaningful People, we speak to people who are
Meaningful.
sort of, yeah, and who are doing meaningful things and
Right.
accomplishing Klal Yisrael. And start backwards. To date, I've donated to whatever flex. I've donated to many Chesed funds.
Nice.
T4.
Thank you.
T4. Oh man, I'm gonna hear.
I'm trying to prove to Naki that I'm not pushing 40 by using T4.
Yeah, and it's just the Chesed Fund has raised over $100 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For tzedakah causes in the last
Let's give that number one more time for anyone that was distracted during that.
$100 million.
How are you, dude?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It's very, very, it's humbling. Yeah. Ashreichem Yisrael.
What's it like to be part of that?
Well, I honestly, I thank Hashem every day for putting me in this position. I'm not going to ask what the schus is, but I can just tell you that from my desk, I see what Klal Yisrael does when there's a need, when there's a want, when there's something that needs to be built, like a building, like a school building, a yeshiva, when a building falls down, like what happened in Surfside. I see what Klal Yisrael does. I see it firsthand, and it's incredible. Like my My Ahavas Yisrael has grown from being part of this company. It's tremendous. It's a schos. It's a schos to be able to use some of the kochos that I have to serve Klal Yisrael. That's the bottom line. We're here to serve fundraisers. That's the mission of the company. But on a personal level, it's, I've cried a lot of tears. I've said a lot of tefillas for a lot of these campaigns. It's blood, sweat, and tears. It's incredible. It's an incredible honor and a schos to serve Klal Yisrael in this very, very unique way. My background is a little bit in marketing, in design, in multimedia, and I worked for record labels, and I worked in Hollywood. And
whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
and I went to a lot of koilim also.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea how I'm going to get all of these different
unique experiences,
and bring them into a project that's going to be powerful and meaningful, and it's a schos to be able to. I've worked with and been on the phones with Gedolei Yisrael time after time, heads of yeshivas and organizations that I admire and look to and say these people are incredible, and being able to serve them with our expertise, with our technology, with our strategy, with our service. All of what we've built in terms of the company has been awesome. Professionally, it's been incredible, and personally, and also on like an avodas Hashem on a ruchni's level. For me, if you're asking me personally, it's an absolute honor and a schos. It's a humbling honor and schos.
That's awesome. I think this came up in our conversation with Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, that this generation is experiencing such incredible, really unprecedented success financially. And, some people make a lot of noise about the way that our generation is indulging in that wealth.
Right.
But, Rabbi Jacobson had an incredible spin on it, that how it's a sign of Geula.
Right.
And Hashem is opening and expanding our concepts, right?
Yes.
Our hasagas.
Yes.
In order to be able to bring on Mashiach, we have to be able to think big.
I mean, Rebbe was the wealthiest man in Klal Yisrael. He was the Machabera Mishnah. This was to him we owe all of our Torah, and there's something the Midrash says that Bizman Hazeh, we know that the Mishnah says that Olam Ha'omed al Shlosh Devarim, right, on Torah, on Avodah, on Gemilas Chasadim. The Midrash says today, I don't want this to get depressing. The Midrash says today we don't have not Avoda because we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, and we don't have Torah because along with the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the quality of the Torah and the Tahara of the Paraduma, it changed the quality. But from even before the Torah was given and before the Beis HaMikdash was built, we had Chesed.
Wow. And
during those times, we also had Chesed. And now that the Midrash says there's no Torah, there's no Avoda because there's no Beis HaMikdash, Chesed has been the one pillar that the entire world, kindness, Klal Yisrael's kindness, our brand of kindness, is the pillar that keeps the entire world standing. And that's, I think, that maybe what Rabbi Jacobson, I'm not going to speak for the good rabbi, but maybe that's sort of what he meant, that we're capitalizing on our ability to serve Hashem in the one way that we always have been able to in its purest form. And we're just innovating the technology around that. We're facilitating it.
Wow, that's awesome.
We'll be right back to this episode of Meaningful People. I'm doing this ad solo today because Momo had to catch a flight. But maybe he'll just jump out from under this table and say, bridge, nope, not that. But I want to talk to you really quickly about this series from Feldheim, the Tanaim series. Close your eyes. Take yourself back in time to the times of the Mishnah and read these amazing books about Rav Yehuda Anasi, Rav Meir Baal Hanes, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Rav Nachum Ish Gamzu. So many stories, and it's awesome for kids, also for people a little older, but it's awesome for kids because it's done in like a comic book type format. So really, really easy to learn, and so much to just learn from our Tanaim. There are 13 books in total, or 8 more actually that are in production. I read this book to my 2-year-old. She has no idea really what I'm saying yet, but you know what? One day she might say to me, Abba, when I was 2, you read me that book about Rav Meir Baal Hanes, and it just changed my life. And that could happen to you as well. And you'll never know, though, if you don't get these books. So go ahead, head to Feldheim's website. You can hit the link in the description in the show notes of this episode. And yes, we have a promo code for you. Promo code is MP20. That's MP20. You get 20% off your purchase of 5 books or more. You order 5 or more of the Tanaim series books, you get 20% off with MP20 and free shipping. So go ahead, fill your shelves with the books of Tanaim, and you may change lives in your family. Back to this episode.
I was just going to follow that thread and point out, I think people anecdotally, defend the, today's Balabatim by saying, yes, they do X, Y, and Z, but they also give so much. And it is a limud zchus, right? It is a defense. And it's obviously accurate, but when people, posit it anecdotally, it's one thing. You are sitting in a position, you're seeing it happen. You're seeing Klal Yisrael give in a way that they've never given before.
I mean, I came on to the Chesed Fund right before COVID. I had participated in a couple of campaigns because I worked in the nonprofit world before. I was actually working for Sameach International from Lakewood when I eventually transitioned over into the Chesed Fund. And then COVID happened. So my onboarding process in terms of what it meant to run a campaign, what it meant was, okay, we did a nice yeshiva building campaign when I was a part of the yeshiva, and I was involved in another one. I saw it from being inside of yeshivas, a part of yeshivas, a part of nonprofits. I also worked for NCSY and the OU for a period of time as a director of education for South Florida. But when COVID happened, this was like my onboarding. There wasn't a few hours that were going by when there wasn't another call, another case, somebody else that was nifter. And we're talking about, these were people that, the people that passed away in the early days of COVID were, at first I was asking myself, like, why and how, and we'll never be able to answer those questions. But all I can say is that if you look at the faces of all of the people that did those campaigns, these were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. These were special choice. Sometimes I heard somebody say, sometimes Hashem takes someone because he wants them to be close to him. I don't know, Ani Osek ben Astaris. I can't say why and what, but being able to serve during that time and see thousands and tens of thousands of different donations coming in, talking to the families sometimes before the kavura even happened, and trying to do everything that I could. It's really like a little bit of a skunnis, because having to coordinate everything while the family is experiencing the most difficult time of their entire life, and then getting feedback from them that they would be shocked that there was this much money that came to them. It was all orchestrated by real Askanim in Lakewood, in Flatbush, in the communities that were affected, but that money was very, very well needed and distributed. But what I was getting feedback from the family was how many people that we don't even know stepped up to donate, strangers essentially, but a Revim Zelazeh. And including some of these gvirim that we hear about and we know about, and some of the names that were on the donation list. It's some of them were anonymous and some of them were not, but everyone stepped up. Everyone in their way stepped up, and it was remarkable. And they really do. Now, when we do campaigns for organizations, like for schools in shuls and like a Tomchei Shabbos or a food co-op or something like that, Chaverim and Hatzalas and all this stuff, these people step up and there'll be corporate sponsors on the campaigns. The people that are holding up the mirror are also holding up other smaller organizations that you might not have heard of, but their corporate logos are on the campaign pages. So right. Everyone in their way. Like I always say, like there's a funny word about that the first matching campaign was the Binyan Mishkan. That was the Maxis Shekel. The Maxis Shekel.
That was a real matching campaign.
That was the real deal. That was the real deal. Now that's the model that we're modeling after essentially. So this isn't anything new by Klal Yisrael. Chesed is not going out of style by us ever, right?
Yoshi, you had mentioned in passing.
Yeah.
And you live in Florida now, and you had mentioned Surfside.
Yeah.
That was something that happened rather recently.
Yeah. I was just there last Shabbos. I spent Shabbos in Surfside.
And I know that the Chesed Fund was very involved.
Yeah.
So could you I guess take us through the involvement and the story through your eyes. How that.
Yeah, I'll tell you from my perspective was my phone started buzzing at about 2:30 in the morning or so, somewhere around that time, and it woke me up. And that can either be somebody from Eretz Yisrael, and it's good news, or it could be I better check this as soon as I can. And I checked it, and it was somebody local that was sending me pictures from the area, and it just looked like a little bit of dust. There weren't even ambulances on the scene. Something happened in Surfside. And a few minutes later, I got another picture, and it was the place was covered in ambulances, and I saw that it was something very serious. And so, as early as I could, I started reaching out to people who I knew in the area, including the Shul of Bal Harbor and the heads of Hatzalah down there, who were absolutely incredible. And they put me in touch with a group of young professionals called EZS Events. They're young people that they do events for young Jewish professionals down there. That's what they do. And I identified, I told them that there are going to be about 24, if not more, GoFundMes, right, as a generic term, campaigns that are going to be set up by well-meaning people who are not professional fundraisers. And this one's going to get $70,000 in their bank account by 3 p.m. And this one's going to have $35,000. And this one's going to have, and they're just lay people and well-meaning, people with no professional sense of fundraising, etc. And he said, and that's a disaster. It'll be a terrible, terrible thing because we need to unify. We need to unify in South Florida and make one central page, one campaign page that everyone can come together and get behind and feel confident to give to.
Also, I imagine, first of all, you had mentioned that they'd be making these pages primarily on like GoFundMe that takes a 5% fee. Mm-hmm. That's A. And B, someone makes a campaign, now they have linked to their bank account $75,000.
Yeah, personal bank accounts and things like that. And they're well-meaning, they're well-meaning people, but they just don't know better.
Right.
And so after having been through the experience that I went through and learning from really great and very, very serious Askanim in Eretz Yisrael, in Lakewood, people who are the best at doing things for the community in a sneistic way wherever it's possible, doing them absolutely as responsibly as possible. I learned a little bit from them, and I realized that we have to shut down all these other campaigns, which were, like you said, connected to people's personal bank accounts. Yeah. And Hatzalah stepped up and they wrote a letter of approbation that this is a central campaign that they stand behind. The Shul of Bal Harbor allowed the processing to go through them, so it was going to Rabbi Lipsker and his shul. That's the shul in Bal Harbor for anybody who knows. That's the shul of the area. He's been there for 40 years or so. And eventually I called all of the GoFundMe pages or whatever it was, all these other pages. There were other pages set up on our site, and I told them, I'm so sorry, shut it down, but shut it down and make a team on the central page. Make a team. So you can still do your fundraising efforts in your community, take on a personal team goal for your shul in your community. And it really snowballed from there, that people started taking on teams. There were like Reddit groups that started taking on teams. There were major, like Morgan Stanley centered around their organization and did all kinds of interesting corporate matching grants internally. That was great. And eventually, I think you had a guest a few weeks ago, a nice Jewish boy from my neck of the woods also, Ben Shapiro, retweeted it.
Nice from Jewish little boy.
Right, nice from boy. He retweeted it, and he was kind enough to mention it on his podcast a number of times, and it went totally, totally viral, which was fabulous. And the Shul of Bal Harbor and their board, along with EZS and Hatzalah, they were very careful to make sure that they went to the Jewish Federation, who eventually handled the application process to apply to get those funds and get them handed out in the most responsible way possible. And
how much money was raised for that tragedy?
It was over $1 million. I don't have the exact number, but I think it was over 1.5, which it really was going toward immediate needs. I had people in my community that were running down to Surfside, bringing things like kippas and tichels and basic things that, the people that got out of there the lucky ones. We don't think about it because we go to the kitchen and we open the drawer and there's silverware there. And we go to wherever we put our tefillin, and our tefillin are there, and our kippahs are there, and all the most basic things that you would need immediately and right away were missing. So that's really what the spirit of this campaign was. It was, how do we address it? We knew that in some cases there's going to be insurance to help the survivors. There's going to be some kind of help that will come to help with kavuras where it was necessary, however that looked. But we knew that there was an immediate need, and that was the power. That's part of the power in the koach of this tool, this amazing tool, the Chesed Fund. You could set up a campaign page in 5 minutes that could raise you an infinite amount of money, if you could say such a thing. Right. Within 5 minutes, you put in your banking information, you can put up whatever content you want, and it's rolling. And in the early morning hours, we were on the phones organizing. That campaign page got up within a matter of hours in the early morning, and it was already moving. Right. And eventually, thanks to certain very, very special people, Ben Shapiro and others in the media who retweeted it and sent it around, it went viral thanks to the people that took on teams. It was really a community event. Everyone stepped up.
Obviously not with something like this campaign, but it's something that I've discussed on different platforms with different people, rabbis, is nowadays the sort of the verification process. Like you just said, it's so easy to make a page. It's so easy to fundraise. And I would venture to say, and this is a topic that I think, I've spoken about in the past.
Yeah, this is a cool topic.
Yeah, that we're not going to shy away. This is an important thing to discuss.
Yes.
The verification process of certain tzedakahs. I would venture to say that there are millions of dollars each year that are just falling between the cracks, and you're going places that, we're discussing money. We're discussing tzedakah right now. And there are campaigns and there are people that are running things that, A, it could be not going to the cause, B, they could be spending 90% of the money on this and that, and it's just not the best use of the money. So what's the process like? Just for I guess, if I'm going to the table and I want to donate my money somewhere, I want to know that my money is going to the proper place.
Right.
So
that's a great question.
Especially with a platform that you guys built where anyone can start a page.
We make it easy. We make it easy.
Make it simple.
We make it simple.
It higher the chances of foul play.
Right. So I'll tell you like this. The number of campaigns that I've had to pull the plug on for anything questionable, I could count on basically one hand. And that's one thing I can say to just assure everybody anecdotally. In terms of verification, so the Chesed Fund used to have a feature called verification, and you filled out a little bit of information, and the campaign was verified. But we pulled that. We pulled it because we felt it's not right to be the platform that hosts a campaign and the verifying body, if that makes sense.
It's a little bit too close.
Yeah. It doesn't seem, even though everyone that I work with, these are some of the best people I've ever met, frankly. There are people that are really, really l'shem shamayim and wonderful, wonderful people. However, it just you don't have to be a rocket scientist to say we shouldn't be verifying campaigns that are listed on our platform. So that went away. During COVID, I saw a piece from the Aguda convention when it was online. Rav Aaron Lopiansky was part of the panel, and it was asking for a friend. Sruly Besser. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. future guest, or maybe past guest whenever this airs. I don't know.
So somebody wrote in a letter. And it was like a tamimistic and a beautiful letter, and it said like this, because that's the concept of that panel, is asking for a friend. People anonymously write in questions, and they ask them to Gedolim. They ask Das Torah, what's the Das Torah perspective on this? I was so busy during that time that I didn't leave my office for days and days and days. And I'm saying this was the middle of COVID. It was a war zone. But I just so happened to know. I really appreciate Rav Aaron Shlita, Rav Aaron Lopiansky, and I happened to see that he's speaking in this panel. I put it on. Somebody asked the question. There are so many campaigns nowadays. Baruch Hashem, Klal Yisrael gives. Everything is good, but how do we know? How do we know it's good? And And shouldn't they do something about this? And Rav Aaron answered, he answered something to the effect of, you can watch it online, but he answered something to the effect of, Enochanami, but who are the they? If you see an issue, if you can identify an issue, and I would invite all of your listeners to take Rav Aaron's advice in all areas. If you see an issue in Klal Yisrael, you are the they. You stand up and do something. And I heard it, and I happened to be sitting in the seat that I was sitting in the position I was sitting in, and I heard Rav Aaron, and he said, who are the they? You're the they. So I started reaching out to him and others, trying to figure out a solution for verification that would make sense. Baruch Hashem, right now we have on our site, we did a partnership with the Aguda, and you can click verify a campaign. And a member, I happen to live in Florida, so it's the Aguda. There's an Aguda member in South Florida who's a Rav who's been in the world of tzedakah for a long time. And you apply. There's an application process. You click verify, and he'll do drishas and chakiras on your campaign and make sure it's verified. One of the things that's very important is that I want to point out is that none of this is to blacklist anybody. It's to whitelist people. It's to give people, if you will, it's to give people the opportunity to verify their campaign and get a pretty solid haskama after people check into it independently and verify it, where they might not otherwise be able to get a haskama. Maybe they're not so close to a Rav. Maybe it's an almana who's alone and has no family and doesn't have the resources and doesn't know how to get in touch with, so she can reach out, and we built it into our site. You can click verify. Now, so that's called the Vandle in Yane Online Tzedakahs, but we're actually...
Great name.
Yeah, thank you.
Great name.
But it's independent, it's not us, and it's from the Aguda, and that's great. But we're working now behind the scenes to try to make something that's a more uniform and national board, and that's even more streamlined and even more muskam by many, many different kahilas that will transcend any political consideration or any consideration or sort of like gvul in terms of what kahila, what camp you're part of. So we're working very, very hard to further that mission.
It's so necessary.
It's so necessary. I say that it's a good idea whose time has come. This is so obvious. If somebody comes from Eretz Yisrael, Mishlachim, right? You Rav Heinemann from the Star K came up with this concept that, you know, they have to apply and they get the blue paper and then they can collect, right? And every Mishulach from Eretz Yisrael used to stop by Baltimore, Maryland first, because that's where you could get them. But now there are like 22 cities that actually create these hamlatzas for Mishulachim from Eretz Yisrael. The reason that we went with working with the Aguda first is because we're now essentially connected to that network of 22 cities that currently serve Mishulachim. And when I was discussing this with them and others and Gedolei Yisrael, etc., I tell them every time, like, you know, Mechilas Kavod Rav, Lianias Daiti, this is an idea whose time has come. If you do it for Mishulachim and you do it for some Niyim who come from overseas that collect in your city, well, the tzedakah in large part has gone online. A lot of it has gone online. Let's do it there. Let's do it. It's intuitive. This isn't, you know, it's not, again, it's not an unbelievable chiddush, but it's something that's very, very necessary. So for anybody that wants their campaign verified, click verify campaign after you make your campaign, right, and you'll be put in touch with an Aguda member who will be connected to these 22 cities, and you'll have that resource at your fingertips. So that's one service that we're providing in those terms. It's very important to us. It's important to us. We feel an achrayus. We feel that we want to make sure the best thing, Klal Yisrael is giving. And the quantity, as Momo pointed out, the quantity is staggering. It's astounding. But we want the quality of the mitzvah to be there also in terms of people giving confidently in B'tuv Levav. We want people to really, really feel strongly that what they're giving to is good. Now, not everybody applies for verification, and not everybody has to. We're a platform. You can come on. You know, we have just like, this is a little bit funny, but we have a couple campaigns. People made spoof campaigns. So somebody made a campaign that there was Yeshiva Bacher. He made a campaign. Must have done it during Bein Hazmanim. I lost my I lost my charger for my flip phone. I'm trying to raise money for it, and he posted like an Amazon link, and it was $5. You know, he made a campaign page. Okay, it was obviously a joke. Somebody made one for Elon Musk Musk, help me get to Mars. I need rocket fuel. I need gas money to get to Mars. So these are that's like the internal fund.
Do you like shut those down or no?
Nobody really raised any money. It was somebody just made it. However, I would encourage people when you see a campaign that doesn't have haskamas, do your due diligence. Give. We as a platform want very badly to platform as many people as we can. It's part of the power and the beauty of the Chesed Fund. It's also where the achrayus has to come in on our part, which is why we're offering people verification. Obviously, we look out for anything that doesn't look okay. If anything's not okay, I'll personally pull the plug on it in 2 seconds flat. No question.
What are some signs that you say, okay, this doesn't look okay?
If Elon Musk is in the title, that's
I'll tell you one time. That was a good one. That was a really good one. One time somebody tried to raise money for like a Hatzalah ambulance, but it was also a bacher, and he put like the Hatzalah logos all over it, and he thought he was doing something correct and good, but it was, obviously Hatzalah is a national treasure, and they have their channels and they didn't feel comfortable with it. So we made sure that he was put in touch with them and could help them in other ways. It wasn't so appropriate for him to take their label and just say, I'm getting them an ambulance. You know what I mean? There are ways that we have to identify it. We rely on and get a lot of user feedback. So people contact us constantly. And by the way, if anybody sees anything, contact us. You know what I mean? We're there. We're easily accessible, and we're there to help. We're there to serve Klal Yisrael. We're there to serve fundraisers, and we're there to serve people who would like to give. And if there's any questions, we're always there to answer them. That's for sure true. But these these basic steps, just like if you would give to a maisid or if you would give to a mashalach, you would do your basic hishtadlis to make sure that this is somewhere that you're comfortable giving. This is somebody that you want to be giving to. Look at the hamlatzas. Some people come and they get haskamas from Gedol Yisrael. So they're not hitting the verify button and trying to go through that.
Well, how do you know that verified
channel?
Yeah, the question is like.
So there's another answer to that. Every fundraiser has to put contact information on the page, and you can call that fundraiser directly. In fact, you don't have to call the Chesed Fund. You can call that fundraiser directly. So that's part of the requirements. You have to be able
and
to
you'd
reach
say that's
them.
a deterrent to
Absolutely. If you feel that there's something questionable, you should call them. Call the fundraiser directly, or you can call me. I'm available. This is what I do. This is my life, so I'm available.
I love the steps that you're taking to address this very important inyan, obviously.
Yeah.
I also love the framework that you set for it, where you had the siyata d'shmaya to hear Rabban Lopyansky's idea. And who are the they? It's such a takeaway for our listeners, because we're so quick to identify problems.
Right.
Especially in this, cancel culture, and where so much is going on online, and we see something that's, that catches our attention, and we point out all the things that are wrong with it.
Yeah.
And you might be the they that can fix that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
and we really hope to. And Rav Aaron is a very, very smart. He's a very, very smart man. That's to say the least. He's an Adam Gadol, Gavar Abba Ad Me'oid. He's a big Talmid Chacham, and he just putting out that message was something that. This is the way that Klal Yisrael is meant to operate. We're supposed to take our directives from Gedolei Torah. And you're right, it was Siyat D'Shemaya. I spread it around the company immediately. I sent that link to review the asking for a friend around the company, and we've been working on it ever since. And I know that there are going to be more and bigger steps too.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking to, like I said, a centralized, national, independent, rabbinical board to verify campaigns.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. Momo,
Right back.
What's something that you need in order to donate to a campaign?
Well, you need resources.
Well, you need money. Yeah. Money is a resource.
It is.
Well, how does someone make money?
Well, you typically would be able to
Get a job?
Yeah, get a job.
Well,
build a career.
How is someone going to get a good job?
Well, a lot of it starts with a good education.
Well, a good education usually starts at
Touro University.
That's Touro University, because you want to be able to donate mad amount of money to tzedakah. Mad amount. Like dropping dollar bills to tzedakah, to the Chesed Fund. So you need to go
That
ahead.
was such an appealing appeal.
It was, right?
It really was.
I don't know why. I should be hired to do things.
Go to Touro University. Let's distill down Nachi's advocacy here. Go to Touro University so that you can build a career, so that you can make a lot of money, so that you could donate to Chesed campaigns on the Chesed Fund. It's just a logical set of bullet points.
You just see the Yad Hashem and everything in life.
really
It's
is.
just amazing. So go ahead and head to Touro.edu/more so you could donate money to the next person that's in need.
Very deep.
It's a mitzvah. Do it. Enjoy the rest of this episode.
I want to throw just another point into the mix.
Yeah.
You mentioned Siyata Deshmaya. You know, we can put the barriers to entry, and we can, execute verification processes, and those are all fabulous.
Right.
At the end of the day, if we want to know that the chesed that we're trying to do ends up doing good, we need Siyata Deshmaya. And if like anything you're trying to do and accomplish.
The Gemara in Bava Basra talks at length about it. Talks at length that, we hope that who we're giving to is, I will say something. My Rav told me that there was a melech Yehuda, and he davened that the tzedakah that he gives, because I was talking to him about verification. I talk to my Rebbeim all the time. I seek das Torah and eitzas all the time. As you can imagine, it's a tremendous responsibility. So I talk to them. And one of them said to me something very unique, very different, which is, yes, we need Siyata Deshmaya, that everything that we do is going to the right place. There was a Melech Yehuda who davened that his tzedakah should go to somebody who wasn't deserving of it. And my jaw dropped, and I said, "What is this? Like, what does this even mean?" And he said, "Good question." The Gemara asks, "What does this mean?" and
as a kid, the Gemara asks that, but if you get that question, it's such a cop out. You got Gemara's question today, uncle.
Right, exactly. So fine, but I took it. I took the compliment from the Rav, and he said, "What does it mean that he's davening that it will go someplace that it's not deserving?" He said, "Because it's Mida Keneged Mida. Hashem gives us so much. He gives us all the time. He showers us with kindness and chesed and good things all the time, and we don't deserve it. We did nothing to deserve it. So, but." That being said, we are doing our absolute utmost to ensure donor confidence and in a safe place to be giving confidently. That's
last 37 minutes that we've been talking. I've been very curious. You able to guess where his accent is from? No, where
I happen to not know.
You don't. What you hear it?
We talked a little bit before that he spent some time in LA, but I don't think you were born there.
No.
Where's the accent from?
Yeah, so I get that a lot also. I was born in New York, okay?
It's not a New York accent.
It's not a New York accent. Nope. I was born in New York. I moved to South Florida when I was around bar mitzvah, okay? But then I lived in 5 countries, 4 countries after that. So 5 countries in total. I was in Brazil for a time. I was in Paris in the Netherlands, and
jet setter
in Den Haag. And
how are you, dude?
And
what?
good.
What?
Well, Baruch Hashem. I was in The Hague. I think they call it in English. The Hague. I was in the Netherlands for a little bit, and I lived in Eretz Yisrael for 10 years.
You are well
You
traveled.
don't look old enough for all of this.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Baruch Hashem, that's nice. Thank you. I appreciate that, Momo. So the accent is not pinpointable, right?
It's just a mixture of the Netherlands and
and Lakewood.
You knew it was the Netherlands, right?
It's the Netherlands and Lakewood. And also the different places in America that I've lived, between Los Angeles and Lakewood, New Jersey and Brooklyn and Florida. Just that alone is enough to have a completely unidentifiable accent. So, yeah.
You weren't curious about that?
That was Nachi's first question to me behind the scenes. He's like, "Where's your accent from?"
Oh, I'm really curious. You deal with, again, this is the Kiddush Hashem office. You deal with so much.
Hashem.
I'm curious if there's maybe a story that stands out to you of maybe it was a campaign, maybe it was something that happened within your work that you can share.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll tell you the first campaign that I was ever involved in. I was a bacher in yeshiva, and we had holes in our pockets and holes in our shoes. We were and
the Netherlands was not so not so much wealth there.
It's a long story about how I got to yeshiva eventually anyway, but that's for another time. And my friend, there was right by the coffee nook, there were brownies for sale. One of the Avrechim's wife made it, and 10 shekels. We didn't have 10 shekels. So I said to my friend, I'll raise 10 shekels. And my friend Roy Barron, he's a wedding DJ now. He's very good. He said,
shout out to Roy. Book him at roybarron.com.
That's hilarious. And he says, look, we'll raise the money for each other. I'll raise the 10 shekels for you, and you raise the 10 shekels for me. It was like that's kind of what it's all about. The idea that a community gets together to do what it needs to do. The koyach of community, it's something that occurs in every single campaign. There is one story that kind of stands out that's really nice. One of the things that we do, besides these, you hear about the very high profile sort of emergency campaigns, or you hear about the COVID campaigns, which we raised like over $12 million for victims of COVID.
Wow.
We're talking about hundreds of Yisaimim, dozens and dozens of Almanas, and you hear about Surfside, and we raised over $10 million for displaced persons in Ukraine. We did a campaign for United Hatzalah of Israel, working with Eli Beer, etc. And one of the campaigns was $7 million. It was Carlin Stolin campaign and Tikva Orphanage and all these things. I mean, Ukraine itself is a whole chapter, because weeks before Putin invaded, I was calling all of the Rabbanim in the Ukraine. I mean, I said, is everything okay out there? Are you okay? They said, no. I said, do you need anything? They said, yes. And the things they were asking for are things you wouldn't have even imagined. Like, they were trying to raise funds for buses, for communications, because they weren't sure if they were going to have all the communication systems knocked out. Private security. They thought all the police were going to
just go, AWOL.
We're going to dip out. We're going to jet. We're going to bounce. Whatever the kids say. We're going to bounce. And
you guys are not that old. You can't pull that.
and that was like, after COVID, I didn't think we were going to go through a war. The bringing the Chesed Fund into a war zone was remarkable, but we also work with a lot of amazing organizations. So these are like emergency campaigns, but we do building campaigns all the time, right? So we work with schools, and sometimes we work with organizations that are just starting out, and their first campaign is like $70,000. Okay. And then the next year it's like $450, and the next year they're doing a $2 million building campaign. And a lot of it is because we're applying, we have a chief strategy officer, Simcha Rosenblum, and we work together as a partner, a total shutuf with an organization. So like getting organizations actually launched, turning them from an organization that could barely scrape together like tens of few $1,000s to like building a brand new building, it changes communities. Walking into buildings, I walked into a building in South Florida the other day, and the rabbi said, the Rebbitzin came in, I was talking to the rabbi, we're working on improving the Eruv, etc. The Rebbitzin came in and said, how does it feel to be sitting inside of your handiwork?
Wow.
And I said, what do you mean? And she said, we've been doing campaigns on your site for the last 3 years. You built this building. And I looked around, I goosebumps. Like you can go to places, we just did a building campaign for Benos Leah in Muncie. The building campaign was called Building Our Daughters, right? Because the building is not about bricks and mortar. Mm-hmm. It's about the chinuch. It's about building those girls. And the idea, thinking that I'll be able to go to Muncie and step into that building and like see these girls learning and see them growing, like that is what it's all about. That's
so interesting. Yeah, it's so amazing though for like the positive and also some of the emergency stuff. When we think about wars and we think about COVID, we think about Hatzalah and we think about Askanim having to get involved in political stuff. But, you don't necessarily think about, let's say, the Chesed Fund or fundraising as being at that table or, like, intricately involved in the details of what's going on. Like, like there's a war in Ukraine, and now like, the Chesed Fund is organizing a meeting with some of the biggest, wealthiest Askanim in the world to figure out how they're going to right? So like I feel like maybe it's human nature that I don't think like that. Well, I did not think like
There's
that.
a lot
It's much
that
more
happens.
of a role than just a platform.
There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. I really say that it's a shtickle. It's a little bit of a scunnis, a lot, and it's you have to have it. You have to have it that your main concern. I think that. I think I speak for everyone in the company. I'm the CEO. I don't know. Everyone's an individual. The reason that I'm part of this company is because I care about Klal Yisrael. I love Klal Yisrael. And anything that I can do, anything I can do to serve Klal Yisrael in any capacity that I can, that's what I want to be involved in. That's me. That's what I want to be doing. And it doesn't matter if it's trying to organize rabbanim and buses and orphanages in Ukraine, and Eli Beer is talking about how are we going to get 7 jet planes from El Al to get these, this stuff. But also, like, there was a school. The principal from the school called me. It was a school for girls that maybe didn't fit into the exact system, right? So that they shouldn't fall through the cracks. And it's a beautiful cause. And the Rebbitzin came up to me and she says, Yoshi, you have to help me. You have to help me. She had tears in her eyes. I don't know how to run an organization. I don't know how to fundraise. I don't know how to do this.
She knows how to teach girls. That's what she does.
She said, I know how to hug each and every girl in my school and make them feel like they're a diamond, that they're the most precious of Hashem's gemstones. I need your help. I need you to help me run an organization. I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, every time I tell that story, obviously I get a lot of goose pimples. I get goosebumps. I get chills. That's like, that stuff is what we really, really live for. So it doesn't matter if it was a campaign like that in their first year they raised $350,000, or if it's a $10 million building campaign. Like I'm talking a lot about girls' schools. One of the reasons is we sponsored, we partnered with Touro University a little bit. And at the last Touro University convention, we were there, and they made a big announcement, if people don't know, that
they're raising a lot of money. Yeah, they're raising the wages of the teachers. Maybe
right. First, they rang the alarm bells that there's an issue with moros, with the salaries for moros.
They weren't getting paid enough
for female teachers, that they weren't getting paid enough, and
that's true.
And they came with numbers like the whatever they are. So I lifted my eyebrow a little bit. I said, "Wow, this is coming from people that are clearly very, very wise and can see the entire landscape. Maybe there's a small way that we can help." And we've been contacting and working with a lot of Beis Yaakovs. It used to be that you could raise money for yeshivas because Talmud Torah, Keneged Kulam, the boys have to learn. What do you mean? And it was very unpopular to raise money for girls' schools.
Really?
It wasn't like it is in the yeshivas. It wasn't like that. Okay. It was always more challenging. And I heard this from heads of school from Beis Yaakovs. They were telling me this. And now, just this year, it's one after the other. Beis Yaakov in Miami we're doing a big building campaign for them. Like I said, Benos Leah in Muncie did a building campaign. Now, we just did one for Benos Yisrael in Baltimore. A huge campaign. It was unbelievable. And their bonus round, right? Their bonus round was dedicated only to one thing, right? Only to one thing. It was a regular annual campaign. The bonus round was to give the Moros raises. And they raised each Mora's salary by 10% at the end of that campaign.
Wow.
That's substantial. I
think Rebbeim and more in general, like they gotta be getting paid more. And if like the Chesed Fund could do something about that, like maybe internally start something, because these are like, like surgeons are making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, depends on which hospital. And we trust our kids in the hands of Rebbeim and teachers and Moros and this teacher's assistant. And they're performing
surgery daily on
literally.
The neshamas.
That's right. That's Momo's got it.
Yeah, and the fact that
he's got it.
Well, Momo's got a big family. Got what, 6 kids?
6, yeah.
So you know that, but like, and the fact that they are having to work multiple jobs, summers, and I'm not saying like, I'm sure there are perks that come. There are amazing organizations like Chazé Lev that's giving food for Yom Tovim, and there's different organizations that help. I'm not saying, but
I would object to the characterization of perk. I don't think that's a perk. I think it's a need that's the Chazé Lev is doing a great job of serving.
Yeah.
But Nachi, I support your challenge.
I'm happy 100%. To speak about it here because like
I think we can agree
The
that
numbers are like there are more.
the Mechanchim, the Rebbes, and the Moros are definitely the frontline heroes of Klal Yisrael. There are in their kav, right? We have Hatzalah, like you said, we have but we have them on the forefront of our chinuch. This is, the theme for the Benos Yisrael campaign that I just mentioned in Baltimore, the girls' school in Baltimore, was called Creating Masterpieces, and their video was so cool because the whole thing was the graphic design was like a picture of it was a picture frame that you would see like in the Louvre, like a really gorgeous gold ornamented picture frame, and there was paintbrushes and a little bit of paint, and inside was these 3 little young girls in the school uniforms, and it was creating masterpieces.
It's so Halig.
It's so Halig. And the video was so awesome. It was the Moros coming together, and they took they had a box and had a ribbon on it. It says Benos Yisrael. They opened the ribbon and they dumped it out, and it's a puzzle. And they would and it was the Moros standing around a table building this puzzle and zooming in on each. I'm really into this like content and all these videos and the marketing aspect. And like, I love it because it's encapsulating like what it's really, really all about, presenting it in a beautiful way. And I think they did it so well. The camera would zoom in on a puzzle piece, and it would show you like video of the girls learning that day or video of them like on a school trip. Each puzzle piece was like a piece a day in the life at that school. And then they put all the puzzle pieces together. All the Moros were putting the puzzle pieces together until it built that big graphic design with the picture frame and the 3 girls inside of it. That was like, they are the ones creating the masterpieces in a partnership with the parents. And that's like really what that campaign was about. It was about turning the parents into partners by getting them involved, making teams or like being fundraising ambassadors. Like parents take on, I'm going to raise $25,000 for my school. How am I going to do it? I don't know, but I'm going to do it. And we train them, and the parents have become partners in this. And it speaks to the Moros, it speaks to the Rebbeim, and it speaks to the entire community that like this stuff is what's really important to us. And we train the parents how to actually do that also. All this stuff is like, these campaigns are what it's all about. Right. These campaigns are incredible. There's another organization we're working with called the Victor's Helping Hand. You know these guys? You know Victor's Helping Hand?
Yeah, local organization.
I'm telling
weddings, you know them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I work with some people that I work with are like they're big tzaddikim. These guys are big tzaddikim. What they do is they've raised I think $10 million over the course of about 8 years that they've given out. There's no staff. Nobody takes a penny, and they
verified.
They're verified. They're verified, and they give out money to support an almana if the breadwinner dies, if the breadwinner passes nifter, and they put away the money for the asomim for their weddings. They've made over 1,000 weddings.
Wow.
That's crazy.
To partner 1,000 chasanas for Yisomim, 1,000 chasanas, and everything is done completely sneezdik. And they're so careful, and they're so they're invited to all these weddings. They don't show up to one of them. They don't want to even be there, that somebody should look and feel like this is not your wedding. To partner with these organizations is remarkable. This is like all of these stories. Each campaign has its own unbelievable, it's Rigshay Alev. The emotional aspect of it is remarkable. I've cried on the shoulders of people who I'm running campaigns with. Right, we've cried on each other's shoulders and davened Hashem that we should have Siyata Shemaya, and I've danced and celebrated when the North Miami Beach Cola hits its goal.
Right.
They never did an online campaign before, and it's like Avram Fried is playing there, and like it's such a celebration. It's a celebration of what Klal Yisrael is all about. So whether it's making sure that we step up in the hardest of times, and that we're there and nobody slips through the cracks. Or whether it's like dancing, like that the dancing should go up until the Kisei HaKavod in celebration that our kolo is growing, and our dream is coming true. Our building is gonna be built, and what's gonna happen in that building is gonna happen. This stuff is all these are all stories that make my skin crawl. This is every single campaign is its own world. It takes on a life of its own.
It's amazing, and I think. If nothing else comes from this episode besides the fact that we can get some stuff for those Moors and those Rebbeim, that would be You think we can make that happen?
I hope so. For me, what this conversation has done, it's made me so proud to be a Yid.
Yeah.
To be part of a nation that is just so incredible, so awesome. Mika Amcha Yisrael Mamish.
It's crazy.
Mean, honestly, I'm fortunate enough, and I appreciate you having me. I thank you for having me here. The meaningful people is Klal Yisrael. Every single Yid has his or her own Megillah, their own story to tell, and you fellas are helping to tell those stories one by one, which is fabulous. I respect and appreciate what you guys are doing. It's so great to see, to see guys working in the media and using your kaiches and doing that. Every single Yid in Klal Yisrael they're the meaningful people.
And it's interesting. I was thinking the same thing about having you as a guest, and why I wanted to sort of put you on the pedestal, because there are people who have talents and they have skills.
Right.
And this is not to knock people who go work on Wall Street or work in corporate America, but I think it's a special thing for people who take their talent, their skills, and to innovate for Klal Yisrael, for the Jewish people. There's no limit to what we can create and what can happen with media, with fundraising, with whatever it may be. Right. Like, there's no crisis that we can't. The Jewish people are some of the smartest people in the world.
Right.
And a lot of those brains are utilized from Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan and big hedge funds. And people should continue doing what's best. But like,
right.
For to have someone like you who, you probably could be working for other companies, maybe even making more money and just having a different lifestyle.
Right.
But to spend the time working for an organization that directly impacts Klal Yisrael, something that I think is important to put a spotlight on, and to encourage people who are young and getting into the workforce of think about what you could do for the Jewish people.
And by the way, there are opportunities out there. The Chesed Fund, when I came on as the chief marketing officer and I became the CEO. The Chesed Fund had a few employees, had maybe 2 employees and Chaim and Avi. And now I think we're around 20 employees just a few years later, and we're growing and we're rising to meet the challenges, and we're trying to innovate to come up with new things before anybody else does to help to serve these needs. And there's room in the Jewish world to express those talents, to innovate and to be on the cutting edge, and also to be a good El Chayid. Technology is what it is. It's extremely powerful. And it's also has its dangers and its pitfalls, but there is a tremendous amount of room to use new media, to use design, to use art, to use computer programming,
the talents that
all
Hashem
of these
gives
things.
People is,
There's room for it, and it's something that if you can use all these like techie and geeky things and like whatever, and make a product that's like, it makes people proud to be a Yid, right? It's geschmack to be a Yid, and say that at the end of the day, that was all worth it. But also all of the yam of the outpouring of kindness and chesed that people have benefited from. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And there's room for young, talented professionals. Give me a call if you're out there, because there's always room for you here at the Chesed Fund. There's always room for young, talented, upcoming people who are passionate about Klal Yisrael. That is an absolute requisite for the job. You have to care about and love and want to serve Klal Yisrael. There's room for you. So if you're getting into the workforce, give us a call.
There's no room for you at Meaningful People. I mean, there's 2 chairs. I'm kidding.
It's a nice studio.
We have room. We have room. And then you get another chair.
You're growing enough with just the 2 of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yoshi, I really appreciate you coming in. I think that we discussed a lot here, and there's a lot of takeaways, God willing. Any parting messages for the hundreds of thousands of people that have donated to causes that the Chesed Fund has put on the platform or will donate?
Right. On behalf of all of the fundraisers, I thank you to anyone who donated to any of these causes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should see all of those acts of kindness and smile down upon you for them. You should continue to give. You should continue to find it in your heart that if you see a cause, you don't have to know the person. This cause could be from a community that's totally different. You've never seen them before. And even, these yeshivas and these schools and everything like that, just continue to give. And remember that the Amud Chesed is that's the pillar that the whole world stands on. And it's the untarnished pillar. It's the one that's been there holding up the world from beginning ve'ad saif until Be'ezer Hashem b'Yeskel Tzedek, which should be very, very soon. B'meirav Yameinu.
Amen.
We out. Peace. Momo. So I saw during the episode you had your phone and
did I?
Yeah, you made a $7,000 donation to a random Chesed Fund campaign.
Erroneous.
No? I love the Chesed Fund.
It's very kind of you, Nachi.
It is, right?
Yeah. My phone is always off on the side.
Always off on the side.
It really is.
He's a saint. My phone is usually somewhere over here. But the Chesed Fund, every from Jew has had to make a donation through the Chesed Fund because your yeshiva or your son's this or that. They do amazing work. They're constantly, what I appreciate about them is that they're constantly trying to figure out what they could do better.
Yeah, innovating.
So if there's a way to verify campaigns, if there's a way to make sure they're doing a better job with the software, then they're going to do it. So you know what? Really, I love the opportunity to, a little bit of a different episode, have someone on that maybe he is not known and he walks in the street and people say, oh, I know who you are because of it. But maybe now he will, because Yoshi is someone who devotes his life to doing chesed and making sure people who are in need get the funds that they need to get. So big thank you to Yoshi. Big thank you to the Chesed Fund for doing what they do. And you know what, people? Keep doing your thing because we're coming for you. We're going to get you on this podcast.
Keep doing your chesed thing.
Keep doing your chesed thing, not what other things.
Also, shout out to Doma for staying open as soon as Yoshi finished the episode.
Did he?
Yeah, we called Doma to make sure that they'd seat him.
Yeah.
And
also,
they did.
Yeah, it's also
thank you.
A big shout out to Precision Auto.
Interesting.
Because they fixed up my car.
Oh, okay.
And my car was messed up bad. I want to tell you, my car was jacked.
Uh-oh.
And they fixed it. Once we're just doing shout outs.
Hashem, everyone's okay.
Everyone's okay. It's just, it's people are gifted somehow.
Precision Auto.
Yeah.
Thank you, people.
Thank you, guys. It's really cool, the guys. Thank you, people. It's too late for this. We gotta go. So thank you for listening to this episode. And guess what? You know what? Maybe there's an episode that you didn't listen to. I know some people come over and they say, oh, I listened to every single episode. And I go, really? All of them? 95 of them? All of them?
Did you, though?
Did you? Go listen to another one. Have a good day. Bye.